Let's start today with a little quiz. Which herb was burned in medieval times as a protection against the plague? If you guessed rosemary, you got it right. Rosemary, the herb of remembrance. And today I'd like to show you a couple of really simple and tasty recipes using fresh rosemary. The first one I'd like to do are oven roasted potatoes. One of my favorites. In England when I grew up as a kid we called them oven roasted spuds, and we all loved our spuds. If you soak your potatoes in the water for a little while, they help remove some excess starch from the potato. It just helps you get a little fluffier potato inside when you're finished. The only thing that's really important about the potatoes is two things. One is to cut them into even sizes, not too big, not too small, and once we've cut them, it's really important to dry them with a towel. If we dry them with a towel, it gets the oil adhering to the potato and we get a nicer, crispier crust around the potato when it's done. 2 pounds of potatoes, I like to put about a quarter cup of olive oil, and just add that in. And you want to toss them all around with the oil. At this point, like I said, they would just go into the oven 450 degrees for 45 minutes. So the next step is to take some of the fresh herb, 2-3 tablespoons, whatever you feel like, and just chop it finely up. And as I usually do, if there's salt going into a recipe, this is the time sometimes when I like to add the salt with the herb because it helps as an abrasive and makes it a little easier to chop up. And also if you're chopping on a board like this, as the oils get released from the herb, they go into the salt rather than onto the board. So everything ends up in the final recipe. Okay, and then we can just put that into there like that. All this is going to do, like I said, is just going to get the herbs adhering to the potato. And I'm just going to use my spatula and scrape everything out of here into the cookie sheet again. So these are going to take about 5 minutes. Pop them back into the oven. So the next thing we're going to make is a rosemary pesto. And this is a little different from your usual basil type pestos. I prefer to have this with things like grilled vegetables, fish, maybe some chicken. First I need about 1/3 of a cup of rosemary. So I'll just start stripping some of the needles off here. There are many types of rosemary. In this part of the world, rosemary's a bit of a tough plant to grow outside in the winter, but I know there are areas of the world where rosemary is almost considered a weed, and people have absolutely no trouble growing it. It is native to the Mediterranean area. It doesn't need good soil, a dryish soil. Doesn't need much in terms of nutrition, in terms of fertilizer. I'm just going to coarsely chop this just before we put it into the blender. So, in goes the rosemary. And the reason I'm using lots of parsley, if I put all of the herb in as rosemary, it would just be too powerful. You wouldn't be able to eat it. Just would be no good at all. And just let me get my parsley here. I've got a nice bunch of curly parsley. Yeah, just chop this up. We need about 1.5 cups of this. Okay, we'll put this into here. And at this point we're going to need to add a little bit of a liquid. So a little bit of olive oil. And I'm going to put my cream in too because that's the liquid. I'm going to use this to help blend it all together. And I'll just take 1 clove of garlic here. And just give this a little smash. We want to chop a garlic up just slightly before we put it in because we might end up with some big pieces just floating around and not getting blended up into the final sauce. Okay, and maybe just put a little touch of salt in at this point too. And we can add the cheese and the nuts a little later. If you want to, you can maybe add a little bit more oil. There we go, just starting to go there now. At this point, just turn it off. We can add some cheese. If you find this a little thick and you don't want to add any more oil or any more cream into it, what you could do is add some pasta water or some chicken stock just to thin it out. Okay, next I'm going to add the walnuts in, and the reason I leave the walnuts to the end is that I don't like the walnuts processed down into a paste. I like them to be in small chunks for a little bit of texture to the sauce. And if you don't eat nuts, just leave them out. If you don't have walnuts, you can use almonds, you can use whatever you feel like. That's it. The pesto's finished. I really like to have this with grilled vegetables. So the potatoes are now finished. They're nice and crunchy on the outside, soft and fluffy on the inside. A couple of really simple recipes using fresh rosemary, and I hope you enjoy them at home. In the kitchen, rosemary is traditionally used in such dishes as roast lamb or chicken. It's also good in tomato dishes and with eggs and cheese. It's a herb that retains excellent flavor when dried. However, rosemary is not just a herb for the kitchen. It has many other uses. A tea made from the leaves can really help digestion. The same tea added to the bath is good for circulation. And it can also be used to deepen the color of dark hair. Rosemary, one of the all-time classic herbs.